Sometimes the hardest part of illness is not the physical symptoms, but rather the feeling that you are alone and have to carry everything by yourself. You may desperately need support while at the same time feeling guilty asking for it. Or you may find yourself trying to appear fine even when you are exhausted, overwhelmed, and struggling. For many people, this becomes one of the most isolating parts of the healing experience because human beings are not designed to carry fear, uncertainty, and suffering alone, and learning how to let people support you can change far more than you might realize. Many people facing chronic or terminal illness struggle with the fear of becoming a burden. You may find yourself thinking things like, they already have so much going on, or I should be able to handle this by myself. Perhaps part of you worries that needing help will change the way others see you, or that it will somehow diminish the strength you have always relied on. These feelings are incredibly common. When illness enters someone's life, it can disrupt more than the body. It can shake the sense of identity that has guided a person for years. People who have always been capable, independent, or responsible for caring for others suddenly find themselves in unfamiliar territory when they need care for themselves. Receiving help in those moments can feel deeply uncomfortable because vulnerability feels risky. Allowing someone to see you struggle, be fearful, or be exhausted exposes parts of the experience that may otherwise have remained private. Yet the paradox is that human beings are not designed to experience hardship alone. Across cultures throughout history, survival has depended on cooperation and mutual care. Illness simply reveals this truth more clearly than most other experiences. And this is something most people do not realize until illness forces them to confront it directly. But isolation itself can become another form of suffering layered on top of the diagnosis. Before we explore why receiving support can feel so complicated, let's begin with a story. If you're new here, this is Renegade Remission, where we break down the science and stories behind how people support their bodies through serious, terminal, and chronic illness. Let's share one of those stories now, because this will help things become much easier to understand. You may remember Suleika Jaouad from an earlier episode where we talked about the importance of having purpose during illness. In her memoir, she also writes powerfully about another part of the healing journey, which is learning how to receive support. When writer Suleika Jaouad was diagnosed with leukemia in her early 20s, the life she had imagined for herself suddenly narrowed to hospital rooms, treatment schedules, and the long uncertainty of recovery. In her memoir, Between Two Kingdoms, she describes how illness forced her into a position she'd never expected, relying on others for support. Friends drove her to appointments, family members helped manage daily tasks, and loved ones sat beside her during treatments that were physically and emotionally exhausting. At first, accepting this help felt almost unbearable. She worried constantly about burdening the people she loved and often felt that she should somehow manage everything on her own. But over time, she began to notice something unexpected. The people around her did not experience helping her as an inconvenience. Many of them felt grateful for the chance to show their care in a tangible way. Allowing others to step closer did not weaken her relationships. It created a deeper sense of connection. What had once felt like dependence gradually revealed itself as something different, a network of people sharing the weight of an experience that no one person should have to carry alone. Suleika's story reflects something researchers have long observed. When people feel supported by others, both emotional resilience and physical well-being can improve. And this is where many people's assumptions shift, because support is not just emotionally comforting. It has measurable effects on the nervous system and stress physiology as well. So why is asking for help so hard? There are actually several psychological and biological reasons receiving help can feel uncomfortable, especially after a chronic or terminal diagnosis. One reason involves identity. Sociologist Michael Burry introduced the concept of biographical disruption to describe how illness can shake a person's sense of self. When someone has spent years identifying as independent or capable, needing help can feel like evidence that this identity is slipping away. Another factor is the brain's natural sensitivity to vulnerability. Research in social neuroscience suggests that exposing personal needs can activate threat detection systems in the brain, particularly the amygdala. When vulnerability feels risky, the mind may interpret asking for help as emotionally dangerous even when support is offered with genuine love. This is one of the reasons people can simultaneously crave support and resist it at the same exact time. Studies in health psychology consistently show that social support plays a powerful role in emotional well-being during illness. Supportive relationships can buffer stress responses, reduce feelings of isolation, and help regulate the body's physiological stress systems. Research has also found that when people feel genuinely supported, stress hormones such as cortisol decrease and the brain's threat response becomes less active. I shared about the incredible role of cortisol and stress response in our ability to heal and repair in our previous episode, Why Your Body Doesn't Heal When You're Chronically Stressed. So be sure to listen to that episode to understand why improving stress and cortisol makes such a difference in our healing journey. The key factor is not simply whether help is available, but whether the person feels safe accepting that support. Another common barrier is the fear of burdening loved ones. Studies of people facing serious illness show that many individuals avoid asking for help because they worry about placing additional stress on their families or friends. Ironically, this often leads to people feeling more isolated at the very time when connection could offer the most relief. That isolation reinforces exhaustion, fear, emotional overwhelm, and a stressed environment in which the body struggles to heal. If asking for help feels difficult, it doesn't necessarily mean you are stubborn, proud, or unwilling to accept support. In many cases, it simply reflects how deeply identity, vulnerability, and fear of being a burden are woven into the human experience. Recognizing this removes the self-judgment that many people feel. Struggling to receive care is not a personal flaw. It's a natural response to circumstances that challenge both independence and identity. At the same time, allowing support can create powerful shifts. When people feel accompanied rather than alone, the nervous system is able to settle into a more restorative rest and repair state. Emotional resilience increases and the experience of illness becomes less isolating. For many people, this becomes an important turning point, realizing that strength and receiving support are not opposites of each other. Here is how to ask for help without feeling overwhelmed. One helpful approach is to begin with very specific requests. Instead of asking for general help, which may leave people confused or uncertain, try identifying one small task that someone could assist with. A clear request, such as asking someone to pick up groceries or come with you to an appointment, makes it easier for others to respond and accept. It can also help to communicate the situation in a simple structure. Describe what is happening, share how it affects you, then make the specific request. This gives others the clarity they need to offer support in meaningful ways. Receiving help also involves allowing yourself to accept it when it's offered. Many people instinctively deflect support, saying they're fine even when they're struggling. Practicing responses such as simply saying, "Thank you, that would actually help a lot," can gradually make the experience feel more natural. In other words, fake it till you make it. Another powerful shift comes from remembering that helping others strengthens relationships. Acts of care activate empathy, bonding, and a sense of shared purpose. When someone helps you, it's not only an act of generosity towards you, it's also an opportunity for that person to express love, which is very health-building for them. Putting it in this context can reframe support entirely. It moves it from something shameful or burdensome to something that can actually be beneficial and relational. Illness can create the illusion that strength means enduring everything on your own, but in reality, strength looks very different. Strength means allowing others to sit beside you in uncertainty, share the weight of difficult moments, and help remind you that you are not alone. Human beings are profoundly social creatures. Our bodies and minds respond to connection in ways that influence stress, resilience, and emotional well-being. Letting people support you does not diminish your strength. In many ways, it expands it, transforming an isolating experience into one that is shared, witnessed, and carried together. You deserve that kind of support, especially in the moments when life feels most difficult. In our next episodes, we'll continue exploring overlooked factors that can profoundly influence resilience, recovery, and the way the body responds during illness. So stay tuned for those episodes, and as always, go be renegades.